Good morning, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach, and we're going to continue on today in the book of Exodus. In the last chapter, we see that Moses, up on Mount Sinai, was given some plans. Essentially, they're architectural drawings, and they're going to build, the Israelites are going to build what's called a tabernacle. It's a small, portable shed. And so when they're wandering through the desert, they're going to put it on poles and carry it. And then every time they stop and set up camp, they're going to have this portable worship house of worship, basically. Now, when they get into the Holy Land, they're going to eventually build a temple. And I've been to the place where that temple was in Jerusalem, but for now, they're going to do this, and it's a precursor of that temple that they're going to worship in when they get to Jerusalem. So we saw that some of the fixtures were built the last time, but now we're going to talk about the structure of this portable shed, or whatever you want to call it. Now this is going to be they're going to give the dimensions in feet, but they were given in cubit. And I think that a cubit they think was about 18 inches. But we're going to do this in modern English. So let's get started. The tabernacle itself, you are to make with 10 curtains of fine twisted linen and blue and purple and scarlet. So we're talking about threads that were made out of linen is a cotton product, I'm pretty sure. And then these other things are, I believe they're linen also, but they may be a slightly different texture or slightly different makeup of cotton and maybe wool. But they can't mix too much because the Bible has certain restrictions about mixing things. And so this is just a colorful curtain. So it's got blue, purple, and red, and it all woven together. And I'm assuming that if it really means twisted linen and blue and purple and scarlet, then that linen is probably white. You are to make them with cherubim that are the work of an artistic designer. Now, a cherubim is an angel. The length of each curtain is to be 42 feet, and the width of each curtain is to be 6 feet. Same size for each of the curtains. So 42 feet is pretty high. I mean, I'm 6 foot. And so it would be 6 of me standing on top of each other. Or no, I'm sorry, 7 of me. 6 times 7. It's pretty high. So let's see. And the width of 6 feet, the same size for each of the curtains. 5 curtains are to be joined one to another, and the other 5 curtains are to be joined one to another. So they're going to sew them together, and you're going to have 30 feet long. Two giant curtains 30 feet wide, we'll say. You were to make loops of blue material along the edge of the end curtain in one set. In the same way, you are to make loops in the outer edge of the end curtain of the second set. You were to make 50 loops on the one curtain, and you were to make 50 loops on the end curtain, which is on the second set, so that the loops are opposite one another. You were to make 50 gold clasps and join the curtains together with the clasps, so that the tabernacle is a unit. So these 50 loops are going to be spread around the curtain, and these clasps are going to hold it together. You were to make curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. You were to make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain is to be 45 feet, and the width of each curtain is to be 6 feet, the same size for the 11 curtains. You were to join 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. So now there's making a covering for over top of this. And goat hair, if it does rain there, and it rains in the desert from time to time, the linen would just get wet. But the goat hair is waterproof. So it's going to act as a protectant. And also from the sun, because they're going to be out there for 40 years. This thing has to last for a while. And they're going to use it for a while when they get into the promised land. They're going to be in there battling the people that are already there and trying to get them out. And then eventually they're going to build the temple. In fact, it'll be in the time of David when they build the temple. He has it built. You are to double over the 6th curtain at the front of the tent. You are to make 50 loops along the edge of the end curtain in one set, and 50 loops along the edge of the curtain that joins the second set. You are to make 50 bronze clasps. So the clasps on the inner part of the tent, for lack of a better word. I was calling it a shed before, but a tent would be a better way to describe it. So it's a precious metal. And now we're out here on the outer part of the tent, and it's not a precious metal. So we're going to see that's another theme. As you approach God, that you cleanse your heart. And so your heart of, what is it, bronze here? Bronze clasps. That by the time that you get to the inner part of the sanctuary, inside this tent, where these things that were described in the last chapter, the lampstand and the bread of the presence and the altar, that where they are, where the worship of God takes place in the sanctuary, that your heart should be as pure as gold, because only God can make it that way. So these are all things that point to worship of God, how to worship God. And they also point to Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not going to get into all that, but there are a lot of Bible scholars that say that this whole thing about the tabernacle is describing the body of Jesus. Put the clasps into the loops and join the tent together so that it is a unit. Now the part that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, will hang over at the back of the tabernacle, the foot and a half on the one side and the foot and a half on the side of what remains in the length of the curtains of the tent will hang over the sides of the tabernacle on one side and the other side to cover it. You are to make a covering for the tent out of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of fine leather. So we're going to see the first thing, the linen curtains just go up and down. And then you have the goat skin that goes over top of that, and over top of that they're going to put ram skin. You are to make a covering for the tent out of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of fine leather. So this is like cover after cover. You are to make the frames for the tabernacle out of acacia wood as uprights. And this is a wood, when you're in Israel, there's all kinds of beautiful carvings that they sell, at the marketplaces for the tourists, of stuff made out of acacia wood. It's a very enduring wood, and it's indigenous to that area. You are to make the frames for the tabernacle out of acacia wood as uprights. Each frame is to be 15 feet long, and each frame is to be 27 inches wide, with 2 projections per frame, parallel one to another. You are to make all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. So you are to make the frames for the tabernacle, 20 frames for the south side, and you are to make 40 silver bases to go under the 20 frames, 2 bases under the first frame for its 2 projections, and likewise 2 bases under the next frame for its 2 projections. And for the second side of the tabernacle, the north side, 20 frames, and there are 40 silver bases, 2 bases under the first frame and 2 bases under the next frame. So these bases are like, out in the backyard we have a table with an umbrella, and there's a hole in the table. The umbrella goes down into that hole, but to keep it anchored, there's a base that's filled probably with sand or something. It's heavy, but these bases are going to be smaller than the base under the table outside here, but they're going to be made of silver. So as we go in, we go bronze to silver, and then when you get into the inner tent, gold. As you approach God, your heart becomes pure. It doesn't stay that way because we're human, but um, 40 silver bases, 2 bases under the first frame and 2 bases under the next frame. And for the back of the tabernacle on the west, you will make 6 frames. You are to make 2 frames for the corners of the tabernacle on the back. At the 2 corners, they must be doubled at the lower end and finished together at the top in 1 ring. So it will be for both. So there are to be 8 frames and their silver bases, 16 bases, 2 bases under the first frame and 2 bases under the next frame. What I'm going to probably do is find what this looks like. And so I'm thinking about this here. Yeah, I probably should have started doing this in the last chapter. But there's plenty of depictions of what artists say this looks like. And we'll go through that maybe at the beginning of the next one. You were to make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames on the second side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames on the back of the tabernacle on the west. The middle bar, and the tabernacle always faced to the east. The middle bar in the center of the frames will reach from end to end. You are to overlay the frames with gold. So they're going to pound gold. They're going to take this wood and they're going to cover the poles of wood with gold. You are to overlay the frames with gold and make the rings of gold to provide places for the bars, and you are to overlay the bars with gold. You are to set up the tabernacle according to the plan that you were shown on the mountain. So this is saying that Moses was given all these plans for this tabernacle when he got to the mountain. You are to make a special curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen. It is to be made with cherubim, the work of the artistic designer. So they're like sewing these angels into this. You're to hang it with gold hooks on 4 posts of acacia wood, overlaid with gold set in, 4 silver bases. You are to hang this curtain under the clasp and bring the Ark of the Testimony in there behind the curtain. The curtain will make a division for you between the holy place and the most holy place. You are to put the atonement lid on the Ark of the Testimony in the most holy place. You are to put the table outside the curtain and the lampstand on the south side of the tabernacle, opposite the table, and you are to place the table on the north side. You are to make a hanging for the entrance of the tent of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen. So they are different, the yarn and the linen. The work of an embroiderer. You are to make for the hanging 5 posts of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. And their hooks will be gold, and you are to cast 5 bronze bases for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add something on here, do a little research, and show you what this looks like. So here's some Google images of what this tabernacle looks like that they're building. And over here we see, this is the whole place. This is the outer courtyard. And then so you enter here from the east. And the children of Israel are camped all around here. This is the very center of the camp, and it's millions of people. But it's not like a church. You don't go in here and worship. The priests go in here. and there's a part of it that only one priest can go into. So it's not like people are in and out of this all the time doing stuff. There's very specific things, and we're going to get into all of that. So here's one rendition of what it looks like on the inside. And remember, there was this red stuff and the blue, and but the top is the black ram skin that's over top of it. So, and then let's go here. This is from Bible.org, which is the net Bible. This is from a blog. Tabernacle of Moses, God's heavenly pattern for our spiritual transformation. So here is the entrance to the holy place. And then here, I guess, is the bread of the presence. And the Holy of Holies is back here. You see, this is the cherubim. These are gold carvings of the cherubim back here. And I believe that we looked at that in the last chapter, chapter 25. And here's a priest. So this is like a diagram of it. This is sort of what Moses was given. Like, hey, here's your instructions. We don't know exactly how they were given. This is not what he was given. It's just a description of it. And you have the altar, and then so you have the outer courtyard, and this. So you enter, and in the one picture from the other page, they were showing sheep. So here's the sheep. They're sacrificial animals, and they're going to be slaughtered, and then on this altar they'll be sacrificed. It's like a big barbecue. And then this thing back here is the laver, and we'll get into that, what that is. But that's where you ritually purify yourself. And then you have the holy place, which is the beginning of it, of the tent. And then you go through this curtain here, and this is the Ark of the Covenant, which they're also building. And I think we talked about that in chapter 25. And this is the place that only, excuse me, only one priest can go once a year. I think it's once a year. They actually tie bells to him and a rope, because if he goes in there and has a problem, say he has a heart attack or something, nobody else can go in there to rescue him. So he'd be in there for a year. So they actually have a rope to pull him out. And that may be what this rope here is. Here's the lampstand, or this is an image of what they think the lampstand looked like. Now you'll see something like this when you're in a Jewish person's house. It's called a menorah, and it has eight of these Usually we use candles, but this they put olive oil in here and burnt the olive oil. But the menorah celebrates um, the it celebrates Hanukkah, and it has 8. Here's the pomegranates that are carved in here. And this is later on. We're gonna be talking about this, anointing the priests. So anyway, just now you have an idea of what this place looks like. This is what we just heard that they're building, and then they're going to be able to break this whole thing down and travel with it. Until next time, peace out.